Mere conservatism.
All righty, David.
Supreme Court keeps rolling right along, doesn't it?
I tell you what, though, with the exception of one ruling that we're going to talk about, I've been extremely, amazingly pleased.
Best Supreme Court session ever?
Ever. Second Amendment upheld, and of course, Roe v. Wade overturned.
Religious liberty, right to life,
yes.
All those things.
So, and with all that, the one ruling that went against what I'd like, I'm willing to accept because, unfortunately, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Let's start with the main Roe v. Wade then. We know what happened. Okay, we knew it was going to happen. But, David, and I got to ask your opinion on this. It's almost like, as far as the evangelical world is concerned, it's not a good thing. Let me take it back. I overstated that. It doesn't seem like it has elicited quite the exuberance that I thought Roe v. Wade being overturned would have done. Okay,
me too. So I will tell you my reaction.
Okay, good, because that's what I want.
Lifted my hands in praise, thanking the Lord. I posted on social media that I was considering doing fireworks.
I saw that. I love that.
Because it's a huge day to celebrate. Now, what I think you're referring to on the religious right is the attitude from a lot of people that was encouraging folks to be humble,
yes,
and meek,
stay cool, stay calm,
and not to gloat, over the ruling and those kinds of things.
I heard that 1,000 times,
which actually is actually not bad advice. However, if that's your main reaction, as opposed to look, I didn't gloat. When I made comments on Facebook, I said two things. I posted the headline and I said, "We prayed for this for a long time. Praise God." I said that, and then I said, "I'm considering doing fireworks tonight." Now, that's not gloating, and nobody personally accused me of gloating. But I'm saying, like, what if there was somebody going na boo boo, you lose, I win, kind of thing? Yes, I think that's kind of inappropriate because
I agree.
It's a victory for God, I believe.
It's not a rah.
Yeah.
We got you.
But it is a reason to celebrate and a reason to be very happy. And so I found the admonitions of people, this is what bothered me a little bit. If your only reaction to Roe v. Wade being overturned is, now let's not gloat, okay? Let's not gloat. That's all you got? That's all you got? That is a little strange to me. Now, if I could see saying that, but if that is all you do and you don't celebrate at all the amazing victory for life, and this is, again, something I've prayed for my entire life. It's the biggest political event of my lifetime, and all you can say is don't gloat. It felt strange to me.
Yeah. And
that I think we should gloat. I'm just saying.
No, but what you're saying now has kind of clarified it for me, how I was feeling, to be true, because I like the way you put it. It's like, okay, what you said was true, but isn't there room at all for any expression of thanksgiving?
Yeah. And it's weird that you would not express thanksgiving. Instead, you would admonish others for gloating, and that's it. That's all we get from you. It's odd. It strikes me as strange that somebody would do that.
But my point is simply this: if this saves a single life, isn't there reason to have a little bit of expression of rejoicing, of thankfulness? And not only that, but David, they're bombing abortion. I mean, life care pregnancy centers. Mm-hmm. They're doing vandalism. There are people who are paying the price for this wonderful decision, and they're threatening Supreme Court justices. Why can't we? Why isn't that an observation? That we need to now pray for those who are in the forefront now of this battle, because chances are they might see some real. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's all on our part. Be good, be nice, be kind. As if nothing's going to happen on the other side that we also might need to warn people about.
Well, and I think that there is a role for people in the church, in the body of Christ, to make sure that we police ourselves, that our hope is not in government or a Supreme Court ruling, and that we are kind with how we deal with other people. I do think that there's a role for that. And I guess what I'm seeing from Christians in some cases is an overemphasis on that in this situation. We talk a lot about good qualities taken to the extreme turn into bad qualities.
Yeah.
And it seems like that might be part of what's going on here. But look, it's a good thing. We ought to celebrate. We ought to mobilize to care for people in need, because I think as Christians, we've been doing this for a long time, caring for women in need and babies in need and stuff like that. And I think this is an opportunity for us to re-up our efforts to do that. And that is how, by the way, I didn't end up buying fireworks. You know what I did? I ended up buying diapers.
I love it.
Because I thought to myself, I was going to the store and I thought, you know what? I could get this sweet mortar launcher and shoot some fireworks, but for the same price, I can get a box of diapers
and donate them to a
care pregnancy center. And that seems like a much more appropriate response and celebration. And so that's what I did.
And why couldn't we have heard that? Why couldn't we have heard what you just said? Okay, now on our side, we need to mobilize, not in a militant sense, but now to take advantage of the fact that maybe more and more women will have the need for the things we offer. For moms who will now maybe be more deciding to keep their babies. And so now let's get out there. In other words, that's what you do. Let's mobilize now, not in a mean way to rah, but in a way to say, now we believe there are going to be more moms who will second guess their decision to end this life, and we got to be there for them. Because that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, because there are a lot fewer Planned Parenthoods out there right now, but you still have your crisis pregnancy centers. You have your life centers. You have your adoption agencies. You have all kinds of organizations that always could use your help and your support, and now probably more than ever.
Thank you.
You're going to need that, and so that's what we need to do.
I knew I could count on you to help me bring some centering to what I was feeling, because I don't know, I just felt up and down, because it's like, you know, certainly this is some wonderful thing, and I got the impression that many in the evangelical church, I'm talking about pastors and leaders of churches, they felt almost embarrassed by the decision.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like they couldn't handle the W.
Right.
They just couldn't handle it. They were embarrassed by it.
Okay.
And I've even heard, I even found out from a lot of my friends that are Christians were not happy about the ruling, which actually surprised me and shocked me. So, look, it's done now, and this is great news. It's a reason to celebrate. The Supreme Court has been great this session. A lot of victories for conservatives. This one transcends politics in so many levels. It's an awesome thing, and I couldn't be happier about it.
Now, you're saying it's done now, but there's some folks, and Biden just added his voice of support to this, who want to federalize protections for abortions by altering the Senate filibuster to pass the right to do that, to do a federal type law that would reinstate all the wonderful protections for women's health that they say that abortion is. So Biden says, I'm for it. Now, the only problem for them, and good thing it is, Sinema and Manchin are both still saying we don't want to deal with the filibuster.
Yeah. So they're not going to get the filibuster to do it.
But they want to. They'd
love to. They'd love to. And they hate Sinema and Manchin so badly. Even if they could, that might get challenged by the Supreme Court and get struck down.
Yeah.
So the Supreme Court has made a decision here that it's very possible has taken this issue out of the federal realm. So it's possible, Cleve, that we might not be able to see any federal legislation on abortion that would stand, either pro-life or pro-choice. It may not.
Well, see, now, you're assuming one thing, though, okay? And if the Democrats were able to somehow, against all odds, keep control of both the House and Senate after this next election cycle, which everything says they should not be able to do, but if they were, they would be able to do the ultimate thing, which is court packing. So my point is, if they pack the court, they could do a permanent ensconcement of abortion rights. So there is that.
That's a great point. You're right.
And that's why I'm saying right now, and it sounds so cynical, we need to pray for the protection of those conservative justices. It only takes one or two something happening, and and they could do it even now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I sound so cynical. But anyway, thank you for that, David. Nice level head. You have encouraged me. Now, a little bit of bad news. The Supreme Court ruled in a 5-4 decision that the Biden administration can repeal the Trump administration's migrant protection protocols, commonly known as Remain in Mexico policy. So that's gone. And you're not surprised by that.
Well, no, I'm not. So this is one of those things where it's an executive action. Mm-hmm. And I haven't read the decision. I haven't read the dissent.
Yeah, I want to read that too.
I'd be interested to see what the what the reasoning was in the dissent that Biden couldn't get rid of this policy, because in my understanding, it's like an executive order. Mm-hmm. It was the executive branch implementing the law and the way that they saw fit, which it seems like they would be able to do that. Now, there are immigration laws on the books, and Biden is not doing a great job enforcing those. In fact, I predict that Biden is going to be impeached. Did I say that last week?
No.
My prediction is Biden is going to be impeached. And there's a couple of different reasons he could be impeached. The biggest reason is going to be because of corruption having to do with his son, Hunter Biden. When the Republicans take control of Congress, they're going to have the ability to start some investigations, and I think they're going to. And I think they are going to decide to impeach Joe Biden based on the corruption issues with his son, because there's a lot there that's trickling out that we're hearing.
We get recordings.
Yes, we do. That isn't getting really a lot of play and looked at. So that's one thing. The other thing that he could possibly get impeached over is his failure to enforce immigration policy.
Because he's not.
This feeds into that in a way. And my guess is that the dissent's opinion has to do with the executive branch properly executing the law.
Right.
And them saying that him getting rid of this rule is him not doing his job.
Right.
To properly enforce the border.
And because of that, the states are left with that responsibility, but that's not their responsibility,
no.
And they don't really have the wherewithal.
They're not really supposed to be doing it, but they're being forced to here. Yeah.
So maybe we'll see, but maybe that's part of the the minorities. The reason for it.
It's not good. The border stuff is an ongoing problem. It is it's a hemorrhage. Really, it's a real issue awful in our country, and it's not being addressed.
Yeah, it's awful.
And so it's not a good thing. It's not a good development that they lost this decision. It might have been correctly decided, though, if they saw it as a executive action that unfortunately the president can do and undo.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm saying, Cleve, when conservatives have Congress and they have the presidency, we got to put this stuff into laws. If you want a Remain in Mexico policy.
Yeah.
They have got to clean up these immigration laws to the point where a president can't just come in and snap his fingers and change everything. They need to do it with energy policy. They need to do it with all kinds of things. Part of the reason we're in such a problem right now in our country is the legislature has given up so much of their power to the executive branch, so that every time we get a new president, they do and undo things that the last guy did, and we have no consistency. We have no. It's a real problem. That's why these things need to be codified into law.
And the Democrats, that's really how they originally wanted it until Trump got in there. They want a lot of power in the executive branch because they're in collusion with the executive branch to basically undo the Constitution.
And Trump did a lot of great things, but one of his biggest failures was failing to do legislation that really affected things. I mean, he had great foreign policy. His executive orders that he did were great, but he didn't, even when he had control of House and the Senate, he didn't do an awesome job of getting legislation.
Which is why the Democrats had to make sure he did not get a second term, because then I believe he gets the legislation back up to a lot of his executive actions.
Maybe.
I know we can talk about
his thing. I don't think that the way he operates is really conducive to the legislative process.
But I believe he won the election. Okay. Having won the election and being the head of the Republican Party, I believe he gets legislative action in a second term. We'll never know, but that's just me. Now, having said that, the Supreme Court really came through with a huge win for conservatism, because they ruled in the Supreme Court that Biden's climate change agenda, it doesn't work. The Environmental Protection Agency, they said, cannot pass sweeping regulations that could overhaul entire industries without congressional approval, is what the ruling says. In other words, you can't make laws. You're a regulatory agency, but you can't make laws. That's huge.
It's huge, and it's huge not just in the EPA, but across the executive branch.
Any agency.
Because we saw during COVID, we saw a lot of other agencies trying to make laws and trying to enforce things that luckily they were struck down on the vaccine mandate for businesses and all that stuff. But this is an awesome win. Is this the case that was dealing with stare decisis as well?
I'm not sure. I don't have the whole thing on.
Okay, so
on my
I
notes.
believe stare decisis is a rule that says that if there is some sort of challenge with an EPA rule or something like that the EPA gets to make the decision on it. In other words, if I have an issue with a rule that they have made,
then
I have to take it to a court, quote unquote, that is run by the EPA as opposed to a third party court. That's a real problem, obviously, because you're always going to lose those against the executive if they're running. If you're basically suing the EPA with the EPA being the deciding vote.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work. So hopefully they got rid of that as well. I'll have to see if that's
We'll have
the right
to look
case.
at the whole thing. Yeah, you're right.
But yes, it's good. It's good for the EPA rules and the climate rules and all those stuff, and it's very good for the other agencies as well, because this will have a broad effect on what executive agencies can do.
This is really big in a sense, again, and as conservatives, we believe this, that anybody who is unelected has no business making laws, okay? And the EPA was basically, you can call them regulations, you can call them whatever. They were laws, and they had the force of law because they were punitive.
That's right.
And basically, what the Supreme Court just said is, no, you're not a legislative body, and you.
By the way, this is Congress's fault.
How so?
I'll say it again. Congress, I said it earlier, they gave up a lot of their power to the executive branch.
Yeah.
They passed these laws. They passed very vague general laws, and they say things in the laws like, commissioner will decide, X, Y, Z, and they give them a broad framework, and then the EPA gets to apply that the way they want to. That's stupid. It's a bad way to do this because it leads to abuses, and it leads to what you're saying, which is unelected bureaucrats making effectively laws for us.
But it works for you. If I'm a Democrat senator or a Democrat representative, I'm saying if I'm Democrat, not a Republican, I like not having to go on the record.
Yes, that's why they do it.
Before I say it.
Why they do it.
I tell my constituents, that's just regulatory policy. I'm sure sorry to see that, but that's not in my hands.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah, and that's exactly why they did it, because they're cowards.
Yes.
And so this is their fault. The Supreme Court is correcting that to an extent, and that's good. I saw an interesting comment on Twitter, which is full of interesting comments, but this guy said, I've run out of ways to describe the Supreme Court, but I'll just have to add that they're a threat to the earth. They're a threat to the globe. This Supreme Court, these 9 people are a threat to the globe. And I knew, I hadn't even seen this decision yet, but I knew that when he said that, he's talking about the EPA case. I bet it came down the right way.
And you were right.
Thus it did.
Because the threat to the earth is the greatest threat to all humanity is climate change.
Yeah.
And using that model, they were planning to bogart and push a total change, not only of this nation, but a global governance, putting us under the auspices of a global organization, taking away our sovereignty. So this is totally...
The United States EPA, Cleve, is going to save the entire world. This is what they think. It's nuts, okay? And this guy, I'm glad he's disappointed. This guy, I don't even remember who it was, but this is a really, really good rule, and this Supreme Court has been awesome. And, Cleve, this is Trump's legacy.
Yes. And again, I'm glad you said that. And you also brought up, maybe it was not you, but I thought it was you because it sounded like something you remind me of. Somebody else reminded me, even to a certain extent, we got to say thank you to Mitch McConnell, the turtle.
Mitch.
Because he did what he had to do to keep Garland from becoming a Supreme Court justice. That throws a real monkey wrench if he had been able to get in there. And it was through McConnell saying no, we're not going to take it up. We're going to leave that decision in the hand of the next president. And I got to give him credit.
Yeah, I do too. Look, I'm not a huge McConnell fan. Hey, I'm not a huge Trump fan. That's been well documented here in Mere Conservatism.
But when you do good,
I have a lot of issues with the guy. But look, this is great. This is the man chose 3 Supreme Court justices. Is that right?
That's right.
And if it's just amazing that we have been able to get this session from SCOTUS. It has been just wonderful.
In today's environment, and again, I'll admit it again, simply because I think it's instructive. I did not think Roe v. Wade was going to be revisited. I did not. And so when this happened, I guess for me, that's why I was so crestfallen with the somewhat muted response. This is a miracle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't look at it other way. This is a miracle.
And I enjoyed picking up your crest and giving it back to you because it felt.
So at any rate, and we ought to draw some encouragement from it, because Lord willing, if we regain both houses of Congress, which I believe we will, unless there's something else that the Democrats can sink to.
There is.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I told you before, one of the things I was concerned about is a day or night of rage that would make it impossible to have an election right now. We're just going to have to put that off until we.
It is going to be tricky.
Yeah.
It will be.
And so.
Keep an eye out for that.
Because you say they couldn't do that or they can't sink any lower. And they've shown, my goodness, they are willing, and especially now, David, because I was the first one to tell you this, I think, or say it this way. They're going to go for broke because they have nothing to lose.
They have to, yeah.
And so that means that's a dangerous animal that's wounded.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And we need to keep our eyes open, our ears open, and just, I guess, be ready for anything.
By the way, Cleve, they call this all these Supreme Court decisions that basic conservatives are winning. They call it long MAGA. So just kind of like long COVID, where the effects linger. This is long MAGA.
Well, in a way, and if you want to be cynical about it, and of course this is bigger than Trump, but it's almost like Trump has the last laugh on them. Okay, they got him out of there. Okay, he's not the president, and he may not be the president next go around. But this footprint that he left is a big one, because I'm telling you again, if he doesn't get those justices in there, I told you before, it'd be over with for America. To me, it'd be over with, because then we would be ruled by 13 or 14 unelected black-robed judges.
I mean, think about these decisions had Hillary picked 3 justices and what the decisions would look like. Remember what she said about Clarence Thomas? Clarence Thomas, by the way, is my hero. He is awesome.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because if I say it, people, and I am a black man, so people say, oh yeah, he's just saying it because Cleve's a black guy. No, Clarence Thomas has been the most consistent vote for me as a constitutionalist and not a revisionist on that court, and he doesn't take no junk off anybody. To me, he says, basically, I haven't seen him bend.
He's the only justice, by the way, that went all the way and said, yeah, you know all those decisions that you guys love? And all the other conservative justices are saying, no, we're not going to touch the gay marriage decision or any of those stuff. No, those are wrongly decided, too. We should really reconsider those. He's the only one. It's not going to happen because he's the only vote for that.
Right.
But he just lays it out there. He feels... This is what he's doing, Cleve, when he writes these dissent. Actually, that was a concurrence. It wasn't a dissent.
Right.
But when he writes these things, he is taking the opportunity to educate thousands of lawyers who are going to come behind him. These Supreme Court decisions are a big deal. They last for a long time, as we saw even with Roe v. Wade.
50 years.
The effects last for a long time. But the decisions are written down, and the legal reasoning is written down. This is important stuff for our country for many, many generations to come.
Yeah.
And the way he is talking about the law and how the Constitution ought to be applied is extremely conservative, and that's good because we need more people to think that way.
Because he thinks this way as opposed to Roberts. Okay, Roberts thinks, okay, we got to take into consideration current norms and also the impact this will have on how the court looks and all that kind of stuff.
The idea of it being a living, breathing document is a good idea to Roberts.
Yeah,
and you can see that with the way that the way he rules, and with Clarence Thomas, this is the letter of the law. We need to follow it.
He's saying the Constitution is the law of the land. And he's not saying, hey, that means we're going to guarantee to overthrow gay marriage if you look at it. He says, but it it does need to be looked at because it was a bad decision. All right. So anyway.
And let me say one last thing.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of liberals that will decry this as theocracy. We get rid of abortion or we get rid of Roe v. Wade, not getting rid of abortion, but just getting rid of the bad ruling that's not based in the Constitution. The gay marriage, Obergefell, would be the same thing. It's not based in the Constitution. It's just we like gay marriage. The country is moving that direction, so we're going to find it in the Constitution. It's not a good ruling.
Yeah.
And people say we get rid of something like that, and people will decry theocracy.
Yeah.
But Cleve, the ruling itself, Obergefell and Roe v. Wade, is theocracy. It's just liberal theocracy.
Thank you.
It is their religion.
Yeah.
It's their faith, or whatever you want to call it, that they're pushing down on everybody. The idea that this Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade and returned the abortion issue to the states, and if there was a decision that would return marriage to the states as well, this would be the government releasing power, not taking power. Taking power looked like Roe v. Wade. Taking power looked like Obergefell. Overruling those decisions would be letting that power go back to the people. That would be democracy. You have to know when they use these words, they don't mean what they think that they're trying to mean or what they're trying to make you think.
Exactly. I agree with you 100% on that. The progressives are all about power at any cost and whatever means is necessary. I don't feel mean for saying that. And I want to say one word in closing to our fellow evangelicals. Yes, we should be respectful. We should be courteous. The hallmark of what we say should have that built into it. But you will never appease a lot of these people, no matter how nice or how sweet or how kind you are. You need to understand that many of them are totally not going to be going along with you. You can't be nice enough for them. Just want to toss that out there.
Kindness is important, but lies are not kind, no matter how nicely you say them.
I like that. And pretending that you can like a lie or that lies should be important is also a lie. You got to call it out. David, great discussion as well. And again, folks can hear Mere Conservatism again.
All over the place. Yeah. You can find it on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts. You can find it on Stitcher. You can find it on Spotify. Yeah. Find it on Facebook. Find it on YouTube. We're everywhere. You can't turn around.
Wherever you're looking for your favorite podcast, check it out. Mere Conservatism. David Perry, and I'm Cleve Walker. And again, obviously, it's not over with yet. Keep the faith. Bye-bye.